Picture this. It is 1962. While everyone is talking about Ford and Chevy trucks, there are pickups sitting in showrooms that barely anyone remembers today. Some could ride on railroad tracks, others had faces borrowed from compact cars, and one was so rare, only 6 were ever built. Today, we are counting down 5 pickup trucks from the 1960s, that time forgot. These are not the usual suspects you see at car shows. These are the misfits and innovators that helped shape the modern truck market, even though most people have never heard of them. Let's dive in. Truck number 5, the 1962 GMC Railroad Crew Cab. Let's kick things off with what might be the rarest American pickup truck ever produced. When you think of rare vehicles, your mind probably goes to exotic sports cars. Ferrari 250 GTOs, Aston Martin Zagatos, maybe a Shelby Cobra. But here is something that will surprise you. In 1962, the same year Ferrari built 39 examples of the legendary 250 GTO, GMC created something even more exclusive, a pickup truck so rare that only 6 examples were ever made. Meet the 1962 GMC Railroad Crew Cab. Now you might be wondering, what makes this truck so special? Well, it was not built for your average construction site or farm. This beast was purpose-built for the railroad industry. These trucks were modified to work on both roads and railroad tracks by incorporating retractable flange steel wheels at the front and rear. When the crew needed to get somewhere on the rails, down came those special wheels, and off they went, riding the tracks like a locomotive. The concept behind this truck was revolutionary for its time. During the early 1960s, railroad companies needed a way to transport their 6-man work crews efficiently. Instead of using separate vehicles for road and rail travel, someone had the brilliant idea to create a dual-purpose machine. The result was this incredible hybrid that could seamlessly transition between highway and railway. Production of these crew cabs was not handled in GMC's main factories. Instead, the work was outsourced to specialized third-party coach builders like Crown Steel Products in Ohio and Stageway Coaches in Arkansas. This approach allowed for customization tailored specifically to the railroad industry's unique demands. Under the hood, these trucks came with various engine options, including the standard GMC 305 DV6, though buyers could also opt for inline-6 engines or a more powerful V8, putting out 185 horsepower. The truck featured jet-inspired air intakes and water-cooled, carburetor-fed power plants designed for the demanding work conditions. The extended cab configuration was groundbreaking. While crew cabs were not entirely new, having an official factory-supported extended cab pickup was pioneering. This was one of the earliest examples of what would eventually become a staple in both commercial and personal vehicle markets. Today, finding one of these 6 remaining trucks is like finding a needle in a haystack. They represent a pivotal moment when pickup trucks evolved from simple 2-seater workhorses into versatile crew transporters. The 1962 GMC Railroad Crew Cab paved the way for every modern crew cab pickup you see on the road today. Truck number 4, the Studebaker Champ, 1960 to 1964. Now, let us talk about a truck that perfectly captures the phrase, working with what you have got. By 1960, Studebaker was in serious financial trouble. Their truck line had not seen a major update in over a decade, and sales were slipping fast. The company's board of directors gave engineers a measly $900,000 budget to create something fresh. For context, that is pocket change in automotive development, especially in the 1960s. So what did Studebaker do? They got creative, really creative. The answer was the Studebaker Champ, introduced for the 1960 model year. Engineers took the front half of their newly designed Lark compact car and grafted it onto their existing 1949 vintage truck chassis. The doors, cowl, instrument panel, and front clip were all Lark components. They added a closeout panel to the rear of the cab, bolted on the old bubble-fendered cargo box, and called it a day. The result was beautifully bizarre. The Champ had Art Deco lines flowing from a modern car front end, married to a distinctly old-school truck bed. It was a Frankenstein creation, but somehow it worked. What makes the Champ particularly interesting is that it was actually ahead of its time in several ways. It offered genuine car-like comfort in a pickup truck era when most competitors still had Spartan interiors. The wide, comfortable bench seat and handsomely styled dashboard made it one of the first pickups to prioritize driver comfort. But here is the coolest part. The Champ introduced the sliding rear window. This feature, which became nearly universal on American pickups decades later, made its debut on the Studebaker. From 1960 through 1964, buyers could get this double sliding glass setup that allowed ventilation and easy access to the cargo bed without leaving the cab. It is one of those innovations that seems obvious now, but was revolutionary then. Engine options ranged from a 170 cubic inch flathead 6, producing 90 horsepower, to V8 options with the 259 and 289 cubic inch engines, pumping out 180 and 210 horsepower respectively. For 1961, Studebaker upgraded the base 6 to an overhead valve design, boosting power to 112 horses. In 1961, things got even more interesting when Studebaker started using the Dodge swept-line bed, which they called the Space Side. They had bought the tooling from Dodge, and while the wider bed did not exactly match the cab styling, it offered more cargo room. The mismatched styling between the Lark-based cab and the Dodge bed gives the later Champs a unique character that is instantly recognizable. Production numbers tell the story of Studebaker's struggles. Annual Champ production hovered around 5,500 units for the first 2 years, peaked at 7,325 in 1962, then declined to just 2,509 in the final 1964 model year. When Studebaker's South Bend plant shut down in December 1963, the Champ went with it. Today, surviving Champs are highly prized by collectors for their interesting combination of passenger car comfort, innovative features, and rugged mechanical durability. They represent a fascinating what-if moment in automotive history. What if Studebaker had the resources to fully develop this concept? Truck number 3. The Chevrolet CORVAIR RAMPSIDE, 1961 to 1964. Buckle up, because we are about to talk about one of the weirdest, most innovative pickups ever built by an American manufacturer. The Chevrolet CORVAIR RAMPSIDE was not just forgotten. It was absolutely ahead of its time, combining engineering brilliance with practical innovation in a package that confused and delighted in equal measure. First, let us talk about what made the CORVAIR platform unique. Unlike conventional trucks with engines up front, the CORVAIR was a rear-engine, rear-wheel drive vehicle. The air-cooled, flat-6 engine sat in the back, producing about 80 horsepower. This layout was borrowed from Volkswagen's playbook, but Chevy added 2 extra cylinders and doubled the power output compared to Volkswagen's offerings. Now, here is where it gets brilliant. Because the engine was in the back, there was no need for a transmission tunnel or drive shaft running through the middle of the vehicle. This meant the load floor could sit incredibly low, and Chevrolet took full advantage of this with their killer feature, the ramp. The RAMPSIDE had exactly what its name suggests, a ramp that folded down from the passenger side of the bed. Imagine rolling a refrigerator, a keg of beer, or heavy equipment right into your truck bed without any lifting. The super low load floor, achieved because the powertrain was tucked away at the rear, made loading and unloading almost effortless. The forward control design also meant maximum cargo space within a compact footprint. The load floor was almost 2 feet deep and offered a 7-foot-long cargo area. You got serious utility in a vehicle that was easy to park and maneuver in tight spaces. But the RAMPSIDE was not without its quirks. The load floor was not completely level, which could be frustrating for certain cargo. The unusual weight distribution took some getting used to, and like most CORVAIRs, It had its mechanical peculiarities that required owners to understand the unique rear engine maintenance needs. Production ran from 1961 to 1964, and these trucks never sold in huge numbers. Americans were still getting used to the idea of a rear-engine car, let alone a rear-engine truck. The RAMPSIDE was too different, too weird for mainstream acceptance in the early 1960s. But here is the thing. By combining the best features of forward control designs with the simplicity of an air-cooled engine and adding that ingenious loading ramp, Chevrolet created something truly special. The cool factor of rolling a keg of beer right into your truck at the beach. That is hard to beat, even by modern standards. Today, CORVAIR RAMPSIDEs are collector favorites precisely because they are so unusual. They represent an era when American manufacturers were not afraid to experiment with radical designs. While it lacked the off-road capability of a Jeep, it offered practicality and innovation that was decades ahead of its time. Truck number 2. The Jeep Forward Control FC150 and FC170, 1956 to 1965. When you think Jeep, you probably picture a Wrangler bouncing over rocks, or a classic CJ5 with the windshield folded down. But in the late 1950s and throughout the 1960s, Jeep built something completely different, and it's spectacular. Enter the Jeep Forward Control Series, specifically the FC150, and its bigger brother, the FC170. The forward control concept was all about practicality. By moving the driver's compartment as far forward as possible, right over the front axle, designers could maximize cargo space without increasing the overall vehicle length. It was like cramming a full-size truck bed into a compact footprint. The FC150 rode on a tiny 81-inch wheelbase, the shortest of any truck in this list. Despite this diminutive chassis, it still managed to offer a 78-inch long bed. And here's the kicker. Both front and rear axles received power. This thing was a proper four-wheel drive workhorse. What made the forward-controlled Jeeps truly special was that they shared their chassis with the contemporary CJ5. This meant they inherited all of Jeep's legendary off-road capability in a package designed for serious hauling work. The almost cartoonish appearance, with the cab perched way up front, and the stubby proportions made these trucks instantly recognizable. For those needing even more capability, Jeep offered the FC170. This longer wheelbase version had a payload rating a full ton higher than the FC150's 5,000-pound gross vehicle weight. The FC170 could handle serious commercial work while still maintaining that go-anywhere capability Jeep was famous for. Under the hood, buyers got Jeep's Hurricane F-head four-cylinder engine as standard, with the option to upgrade to an inline-six or even a V6. These weren't powerful engines by modern standards, but they were torquey, reliable, and perfect for low-speed hauling and off-road work. The cab design was purely functional. You sat way up high, with excellent visibility, though the ride could be rough when the bed was empty. Due to the weight distribution, the controls were simple and robust, designed for work rather than comfort. These trucks found their niche in industries requiring both cargo capacity and off-road ability. Construction sites, utilities, farms, and even the military used forward-control Jeeps. They could navigate terrain that would stop conventional pickups, then haul serious loads once they got there. Production ran from 1956 to 1965, and while they never achieved mainstream popularity, forward-control Jeeps earned a devoted following among those who needed their unique capabilities. Today, they're highly sought after by collectors who appreciate their quirky styling and genuine utility. The FC series represents Jeep thinking outside the box, creating a truck that prioritized function over form and delivered capabilities that few other vehicles could match. In an era of cookie-cutter truck designs, The forward control Jeeps dared to be different. Truck number 1, the Dodge D100 Custom Sports Special, 1964 to 1965. Let's close out our list with something that proves pickup trucks could be performance machines long before the Ford Lightning or Ram SRT-10. In 1964, America was in the throes of muscle car fever. The Pontiac GTO had just launched, proving that Americans had an insatiable appetite for big power in affordable packages. Every manufacturer was cramming their biggest, most powerful engines into intermediate-sized cars. But Dodge had a crazy idea. Why not make a muscle truck? Enter the Dodge D100 Custom Sports Special with the High Performance Package. And yes, that's its actual name. This was the world's first big block muscle truck, and it was absolutely bananas. The recipe was simple but devastating. Take a regular half-ton pickup, add the legendary 426 cubic inch wedge V8. Not the Hemi, but still massively powerful. Beef up the transmission, modify the rear gearing, and slap on some aggressive styling cues. The result? A pickup truck that could outrun most muscle cars of its era. The 426 wedge produced around 365 horsepower and massive amounts of torque. This gave the D100 CSS acceleration that would shock unsuspecting drivers at stoplights. Remember, this was 1964, when most pickups struggled to get out of their own way. The Custom Sports Special could hit 60 miles per hour in the mid 7-second range and keep accelerating to speeds that would terrify anyone riding in the passenger seat. But Dodge didn't just dump a big engine in a truck and call it a day. The High Performance Package included heavy-duty suspension components, upgraded brakes to handle the increased performance, a beefier rear axle, and distinctive badging to let everyone know this wasn't your average work truck. The styling remained relatively subtle compared to later muscle trucks. You got special trim, maybe some racing stripes, and those telltale 426 badges that warned other drivers what they were dealing with. The overall look stayed true to Dodge's truck design language, which made the performance even more surprising. Production numbers for the D100 Custom Sports Special with the 426 were extremely limited. Dodge only built these for 2 model years, 1964 and 1965, and the combination of the full performance package was rare even within that limited run. We're talking hundreds of units, not thousands, making surviving examples incredibly valuable today. What made this truck particularly significant was its timing. This was before the Dodge Lil Red Express of the late 70s, before the Shelby Dakota, before anyone really thought about performance trucks as a legitimate market segment. The D100 CSS was a pioneer, proving that pickups could be more than just utilitarian workhorses. Driving one today is an experience that connects you directly to an era when automotive manufacturers weren't afraid to take risks. The torque curve feels almost violent. The exhaust note is pure American V8 thunder, and the whole experience reminds you that performance trucks have a pedigree dating back over 60 years. Unfortunately, because so few were built, and because trucks were considered disposable work vehicles back then, surviving D100 Custom Sports Specials are incredibly rare. Most were worked hard, modified heavily, or simply scrapped when they wore out. Finding an original, unmolested example is like discovering automotive gold. The Dodge D100 Custom Sports Special High Performance Package represents a bold experiment that arrived before the market was really ready for it. But it planted the seeds for every performance truck that followed, from the GMC Cyclone to the Ford Raptor. It proved that trucks could be thrilling, not just practical. And there you have it. 5 forgotten pickup trucks from the 1960s that deserve way more recognition than they get. These trucks were ahead of their time, introducing innovations we still use today. They didn't all succeed commercially, but they changed the game. Which one would you want in your garage? Drop a comment below and let me know. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe for more forgotten automotive history. Thanks for watching, and remember, the best trucks aren't always the ones everyone remembers. Until next time.